This is going to be quick. Get found and indexed high on ChatGPT using your website. You are welcome to the Marketing Club. You're also welcome to the We Don't Play podcast show. You're also welcome to June. You're welcome to a new month. You're welcome to almost the second half of the year 2025. This is going to be a great time, a great season, and a great conversation we're going to have today because I believe that there's so much we have to consider, think about, do, plan, and sometimes we don't even know what we're doing. So today I figured, why not bring to your attention something that you want to do, which is to get found, to get seen, to get heard, to get remembered. You want to be on a platform that is also very extensive. And you definitely want people to find you on a platform that so it's not just a matter of, I just want to show up online. I want to show you how exactly I talked about it. And I'm so glad you're here today, Dr. Fashion, because you lit up this room for me. And I just want to give you your flowers because this is, something that you talked to me about. And I'm so happy that I'm literally doing a whole room about this just because of that one sentence. So, you know how one liner turns into a whole movie? So this looks like it. So I'm so glad you're here today. How are you? Happy June and welcome to the space.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad you're doing a room on this topic. And yeah, I'm doing good. I just came here to support you. I got the notification on Instagram. So here I am.
That's it. I love that. I love that. Thank you. You see, I think Brittany, every time you tell me something, it's very quick, simple, but it's very deep and insightful. It's happened twice. It's happened with Instagram, it's happened with ChatGPT now. Only God knows where it's going to go next. It's exciting, and I'm super excited that I'm here. I'm so glad that we're going to talk about this. So, Allison, Cindy, Kendall, Hunter, Jeremy, Tarek, Mehdi, Real, Mustafa, Muhammad, Atlas, Z, and Percy. Thank you so much for being here today, and I really appreciate you for spending time here. And feel free to save this replay because I know you guys may be on your way somewhere. It's a busy day. Everybody's doing something. So just make sure you can save this replay and come back to it later so you can listen in. And we're going to have this room quickly for a short time because guess what? You know what happened? I'm going to be on Clubhouse Town Hall today for the first time, which is very exciting. So that's why this room is not going to be for a long hour today. So we're going to wrap this up 15 minutes before quarter to the top of the hour. Thank you, Zizi. I appreciate you. It's so humbling. I've been on this app for 5 years. I've been quiet. I mean, not quiet, but I've been doing my thing. Sometimes when you think about what you do, it just takes one thing, one song, one hit, one line, one message, one quote, and then boom, it's happening. So I'm really excited, and only God knows where it's going from here. And I'm excited that you're part of the journey because even with my podcast, it's something that I've also seen that has grown my podcast right now, and this is part of the reason why we're talking about ChatGPT today. So if you're listening to what I'm saying and you try this as well, please try this because this is going to definitely rock your world. Podcasting is the future. And if you want to be on ChatGPT, you need a website. That is 100%. You know how people say, oh, do you need a website because of ChatGPT? Let me tell you now, let me just demystify that spell. You need a website. If you want to be on ChatGPT, you need a website. That is non-negotiable. If you say you don't want a website, then this room is not for you. This conversation is not for you. And I'm sorry because people will say, yeah, yeah, but at the end of the day, you need a website. Why? Because ChatGPT is sourcing information from a file. Where's that file coming from? A website. Why is a website with a file? There's something called a control panel, right? A control panel. And a control panel is literally like a dashboard of a car. It's like the engine of a car. When you look at things in the dashboard of a car, there are things that tell you how to drive the car, whether you're driving fast or slow. Same thing applies to SEO. Same thing applies to ChatGPT. So when you have a website, the reason why your website is even showing up on ChatGPT in the first place is because, right? Here's the answer to this question. I want to just go quickly. This is 5 minutes in. For you to be on ChatGPT, you need to have a website that is connected to Google Search Console, and then you import the Google Search Console product or the file, or you can say the property assets that you've installed through your first setup with Google, because Google Search Console is Google's internet service provider. So when you charge up your website and turn on the lights, let's say you don't have Wi-Fi or network service, you can't be in this room because your network service is going to fail you. You're not going to be in this room. Your app will be doing the circle of death, and everybody will be like, "What's going on?" And you can't get in. So you can't get in if the Wi-Fi is not strong, if the network is not strong. So you can't listen to this podcast or listen to this episode or listen to this room if your Wi-Fi is down. So the reason why you're listening to this right now is because you have strong Wi-Fi, or you have at least stable Wi-Fi or stable connection to maintain this. That's why you have stable connection. If you have stable connection, stable Wi-Fi, then you're going to have a strong network. Your Zoom is not going to be cracking. Your Teams is not going to be cracking. You're not going to have a problem because you're going to have a strong service. So when I'm giving you this very like detailed visual example, so that when you look at the same example and put that next to your website and ask yourself, is my website doing the same thing that a website that in my industry could be doing like me or as me? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, then wait. What do I need to do to fix this so that I don't have this problem next time? So when you have your website connected to Google Search Console, that allows you to now have access to the internet server, pretty much the internet servers, Google Search. Because when you connect to Google Search, you're not just connecting to google.com. I think that's where a lot of people forget, because google.com is a domain. Google is a business name. Let me say that again. Google.com is a domain, and Google is a business name, right? So you cannot box google.com inside Google. It's not possible. Google is the parent company, right? There's Alphabet company, that's the parent company, and there's Google products, and then there's the Google verticals, and then you have the Google assets, you have all this Google stuff going on, right? Google Maps, Google Drive, you name it, you know everything. So if you're looking at your product and you're saying, okay, this Google Search Console is connected to Google, meaning that I've submitted my website as a map, as a directory, as a file, that means that my website can now also compete at a high level. So that means I'm not just connecting to google.com, I'm connecting to google.co.uk, I'm connecting to google.fr for France, I'm connecting to google.za. You're connecting to every Google company, because Google is the domain, right? It's the name that they're using for the .com. The .com is just a protocol. It's just a pathway, right? Facebook, Tesla, all of them, Apple, there's a .com next to it, right? We all know that's a protocol. But even though it's a protocol, it doesn't mean that they're not on ChatGPT. They are. Why are they on ChatGPT? Because it comes back to they have a website. So you can't ignore that. I'm just saying this now so that nobody says you don't need a website. You do. Because if you don't even think you would ever rank on that platform, because the chances of you even showing up there are high, because there's a lot of competition in the first place. So how would you even show up before somebody else who has been there before you? Now, how you can show up before somebody else is based on these four things. Google already says it. You need to have expertise. You need to have major experience. Experience means that when people are reading your articles, their eyes are not hurting them, right? They can read an article and they can skim through everything. They can see a table, they can see a link, they can see a page. It's very visible. It's not stuffy, it's not tacky, and somebody can understand what you're saying and leave, come back tomorrow and do the same thing, because your website is a utility point of access to information that they need on a daily basis. So if you're creating content, that content has to also show up online, right? So as a website, you're answering questions that people are currently asking. So now you said, okay, Favor, all right, you need a website. We got that. All right, what do we do next? Now, because you've connected it to Google Search Console, you now want to, here's the very key part for ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT is OpenAI, and because OpenAI is technically Microsoft, then Microsoft equals to Bing, right? So if Microsoft equals to Bing, then is my website featured on Bing? That's the next question. So we're going through like a bunch of questions today. It's not just you got to do this. I'm not telling you what to do. You need to ask yourself, have you done this? Like, do a self check, do a self audit, because these are things I do on my own, and I improve on myself, and I make sure I'm better every day. So I'm hoping that you can also get the same thing too. And if you haven't done it, then click the link above. And if you need someone to talk to, click book a call, and we can get on a call and talk about it. Because the importance of being very specific with how you show up online is so important, because if somebody's going to ask ChatGPT a question, that needs to be put on that place. So what do you need to do? That specific Google import that you did initially, when you go to Bing Webmaster Tools, just Google that. Bing, Bing, Webmaster, Webmaster, Tools, Tools. When you type that on Google or DuckDuckGo or wherever you go on the internet, type that and then sign up. It's free. It's very free. Like it's literally for free. That's why they give it to you for free. Google gives you Google Search Console for free. Bing gives you Bing Places, especially because of those who have brick and mortar locations. If you're listening to this, and you only think about Google Business Profile, you've forgotten about Bing Places. So if you want to be on ChatGPT and they ask, where's the nearest restaurant? Da, 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 it's coming from those places. So you now create your website connected to Search Console, import it from Search Console, and then take it into Bing. So when you take it into Bing, you've created a song, or you've built a bridge between Google and Bing, because you've imported documents from one to another. It's like saying you have two hard drives. Like I have two hard drives, right? So if one hard drive is moving to another hard drive, or if one folder is moving to another folder, I'm sharing a folder, right? It doesn't mean I'm losing. It's like a candle. I'm not losing my folder. I'm just cloning it. I'm duplicating it. I'm adding more resources. I'm getting more space. It's like I'm pretty much it's demand and supply. That's what I'm trying to say. You're able to have more bandwidth, more exposure, more longevity, because you're able to still create that connection between what you're doing on your website and what you're doing online. Because guess what? When you ask ChatGPT, Alexa, Siri, all these questions, they are going back like let me say it this way. The split second between you stopping your question and the answer search engine responding to your question, it's like half a millisecond. Like it's so quick that you don't even count the seconds, because it sounds like a conversation you're having with the app, with the bot, right? Wherever that question is going to in the search database is going to a place that has a source of files that talks about everything that you've asked. So if you say, hey, give me a recipe for how to make apple pie, what's the best recipe? How do you do it? It will say, according to food.com, da, 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 da. It will tell you that, depending on what you're asking. But if you're more specific, you can get another answer. So if I say, here are where are the top 10 restaurants to go to in Miami, okay, then here's where I would recommend. And then you'd be more specific. Okay, I'm looking for, it's Tuesday, Happy Taco Tuesday. I'm looking for tacos and trying to get some Mexican spots that I can actually have some tacos and drinks and chill with my friends and have a good time. Where can I go that's within this zip code to this zip code, or this county to this county, or this city to this city? or within a 30-mile radius, or within a 5-mile radius. Now, when you start asking those questions, you're getting more specific and granular with the information, to the point where even with SEO, you can also do SEO too. You can say, hey, turn this into that. And then it will turn exactly into what you asked it to. And then you use that information and you tweak it. So gone are the days when you're typing, like I used to type, FAQ questions and schema. And I was like, this thing is a lot of work. I love it, but it's a lot of work. Is there another way I can go around this? Yes. Now, how am I doing it? I'm able to just finish it. It starts on its own. I prompt the AI, it gets it going. It's able to do its research. I've done my research. I already have everything in place and it goes. So these articles that you want to see on ChatGPT, if you want your website to rank on ChatGPT, if you want to index your website and get found on ChatGPT by making sure that your website is indexed correctly, then this is a step process to take. There's like the way we have to crawl before we walk is the same way we have to do these things before we show up anywhere online. So if you have a website today and you've never connected your website to Google Search Console and you're like, what is that? It's not Google Analytics. Those are two different products. Google Analytics tells you analytics about your website, where you're showing up on, what sources, behavior, traffic, all those things happen there, right? Your Google Search Console is also it can actually be connected as an associate. There's something called association under your settings that you can associate your Google Search Console with your Google Analytics so that they can talk to each other. So why are we saying talk to each other? Because communication is key. If you're in a relationship with someone, if you're having a conversation with someone, whether it's professional, personal, whatever it is, communication is key. If that communication is not communicated clearly, then that communication is not communicated effectively. And sometimes people don't communicate effectively to a point where they actually leave the conversation halfway and that communication was not relayed. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Some people can't say no straight. Some people can't say yes straight. Some people don't know what to say. So what do you say in those kind of situations? So in this instance, you have to also look at it yourself and ask yourself, okay, what am I giving people and what are they getting back? If they're getting back information, how are they going to get that information that is going to be very sequential and also very helpful to their need or to their ask? So why I'm giving you this is that when you're asking these questions, you also want to dive a little deeper, because you can answer a question on ChatGPT. Yes, that's the answer, but you want to go deeper. Why? Because if you answer that one question today, that's great. A week from now, somebody else can get that same spot. So, what makes you so special to keep that spot forever when you know that there are billions of websites out there that want the same spot? Think about that. So, don't think that what you're doing is small. Just know that if you're intentional about who you want to talk to and communicate with, then you'll find the right person completely, 100%. Just this week, I just got off a call with a client. She just got featured on a magazine, on Bold Journey magazine. Last week, another client got featured on Wall Street Journal. These are happening organically. I'm talking about organic. It sounds like what? It's happening because we spent time, and this is like about a month or 2 months into working with them. And the goal was, okay, let's build your Pinterest. Let's make sure your Pinterest is strong. Let's make sure that you have strong traffic. So right now they're getting on average 10,000 monthly views. Easy. For you to get 10,000 monthly impressions on Instagram, you have to really put in a lot of work. That's a fact. Unless you're running ads or if you're posting every day, I don't know how you're going to do it. But if you think about the longevity of showing up on a website with the same social signals that put you in the same domain signals that now reach to user signals, that's the layer. So let me put it like this. Think about a penthouse, right? Everybody picture this as you're listening to me. You're in a penthouse. You're the basement, or you're in the basement, wherever you want to be, where the basement is. Where that location is you are right now, as you're picturing yourself in the basement, that is a social signal. That means I want to be very visual. So follow me here. If you're in the basement and a guest comes to your house. The guest is not going to see you because you're in the basement. Until you come out of the basement and go to the living room or go to the front door or go to the backyard or wherever you're going, that's when they're going to see you, right? So we're going to come there later. You're in the basement. So what does that mean? You have a social signal. A social signal means there are three levels, right? A penthouse, we just need three levels. We don't need more right now. So that I can just get the point across. Three levels. All right, B. Three levels. The first one is social signal. Social signal means that I have a social media account. So everybody is on Facebook, everybody is on Twitter, X, everybody's on LinkedIn, everybody's on TikTok. So we're all at the basement. We're all together. There's really no difference between you and me. We're the same. So it's not like we're in competition. It's we're here. We're at the base level, right? So that's a social signal. So if you have a social signal, it means that your social signal would be really good, because if I know that I'm looking for something in the basement that I kept last week, I'm going to go to the basement and get it because I know that's where I kept it, right? So if you use that same analogy and say that I have there's an account on Instagram that I love checking out every week because they talk about food, nutrition, they talk about health, they talk about sports, maybe quotes of the day, affirmations, whatever it is. That's where you go to every week to now get that information. So you're kind of like going to the basement because you're coming from the top, going to the basement to look for it. You're sleeping at the top of the penthouse and you're going to the basement to get something to go right back up there. So, what am I saying? Your social signal is always going to be there as a business, right? Especially if you do it well. If you have a good space, you can have a lot of connections. You can do a lot in the basement. You can play pool. You can park a car. You can do a lot of things. You can have a whole salon. You can have a lot of things going on for you, right? Because you can really switch it up into how you want, like a pimp my ride thing. So you can do whatever you want to do in the basement, right? That's a social signal, meaning that you have a social platform that you can paint any day. You have a social account, you have an Instagram, Twitter. You do what you want to do. You have the right to do everything you want to do on that account because it's yours. It's your email, it's your phone number, it's your password. That's you. That's your intellectual property. Whether business or personal, that's all on you. So that social signal is going to always be there, right? So let's get that, out of the way. So now that you have a social signal, you want to take this Instagram, this Facebook, this LinkedIn, this TikTok to TikTok, but on the For You page, not just on your own page, right? So you're in the basement, no one can see you, and you want to let people know that you're there. How are people going to know that you're there? You'll have to make some noise, or something has to happen, or you have to leave there yourself, show yourself, and then let people know you're actually around, so that when they think about you, they'll be like, oh yeah, somebody's here. Isn't he in the basement? Is she in the basement? Because you once upon a time saw them, because seeing is believing, and that seeing comes by the word impressions when it comes to social currency, right? So when you're hearing me speak these things, like, please keep these terms very specifically based on what I'm talking about. So the second level, you come out of the basement, right? Now you're the one walking out of the basement, meaning that you're the one that is leaving the social media platform to go up the stairs to meet the person who rang the bell, right? Keep picturing this. So you go upstairs, you walk up the stairs, you get to the front door, you've gone through the hallway, you're already there now, and you see the person that has rang the bell. The person who has rang the bell has seen you and you've seen him or her. So that's a domain signal. That's the second signal that we're talking about. A domain signal. What is a domain signal? A domain signal is you, as the person that owns the property, has been seen as a brand that is being watched or being consumed. Meaning that, or in other words, a domain signal means that if you have a domain on your website, that means that you have a landing page, you have a homepage, you have somewhere people you can send them to. Right now, if you click the link above, if you click this link right now, Go to playinc.online, PLAYINC.online, ONLINE. That is the domain. That's a domain signal. So what you're seeing right now is a domain signal. Right now, we're on Clubhouse. We're not in the basement. We're in a room, right? So if you picture that too, in a house setting, you can see this domain. It's a signal, just like the way you can see a lighthouse, you can see a laser beam, you can see a plane, you can see something in the air, you can see the stars. That's a signal. You don't have to react to the signal unless you need to, or that's what you want to do. But it's available for you to see and react, right? So that's an impression. So because the person that has seen me at the door has looked at me and I've looked at the person, that's one view. That's one count. So for every impression you have on your website, that it means, let's say you have 100 impressions. That means you have 100 IP addresses. In other words, you have 100 people that have used 100 devices to connect with you on one website. So it's 1 to the power of 100, right? So if you multiply that times 100, you start thinking about the compounding effect of how you show up on your website. So if you're using your website to show up on ChatGPT, to show up on Alexa, to show up on Siri, to show up on a podcast, to show up on these platforms, then where it really boils down to is brand leverage. It's about brand equity because all these platforms you see, just back in the day, when you think about Amazon, actually, let me even roll it back for you really quickly. So, remember when Apple and Samsung used to have, I'll call them advertising wars. Like they used to go at each other. I mean, not as crazy as they used to, because I remember there was one time when this was back in the day when Samsung had to pay back Apple for something, and Samsung paid them back in coins. It was crazy. That was like back in the day. It was really lethal. I remember those advertising days when I'm like, wow, Samsung actually paid back Apple in coins, and it was in millions. So you can only imagine what they did with those coins. That was savage, right? So you hear these stories and you're like, okay, that's cool, that's different. Okay, huh? Cool story, bro. Let's keep moving, right? That can happen because you're thinking about those things, and because they happened, it's a memory now, right? So, if you think about those things, that has a very specific tone. And these brands, when they did that, is because they wanted to do brand leverage. They wanted to do brand equity. So Apple had to talk about Samsung. Chick-fil-A had to talk about Popeyes. Speaking of Popeyes, I think Popeyes they just released I think their new wraps. And then I saw in a comment, like just someone said, just watch McDonald's do it next. Then McDonald's announced they have this new wraps. And then later on today, I heard that Shake Shack is now one of the, this is exciting to talk about. Shake Shack is now part of Delta's first class menu item. When you go on Delta, you can actually, buy Shake Shack on your first flight. And in my mind, I'm like, I don't know about that. Would I? I don't know. I don't think I would, but some people could. But at the same time, it's like, what? First class Delta Shake Shack? How? And that's something that's interesting. If you check my Instagram story right now, you'll see it. And people are going crazy about it. So it's like, okay, huh? Is that even possible? But guess what? These companies are talking to each other online. When you see, oh, Facebook just bought Instagram. Oh, Facebook just bought, or Meta just bought WhatsApp. These are companies talking about each other. Yes, both of them are independently entities on their own, but they have a collaboration online. So if people are talking about like this, like that, those alternatives become your examples, and those examples become your next steps. So why am I giving you these broad examples? So that when you think of your business and you say, "Oh, I have a shoe business and I sell shoes." Who is your competitor with shoes, right? Who is your competitor with shoes? Welcome, Royalty, Ethan, Rico, Atlas, Nadia, Kenwin, Trina, and Cindy. Thank you for being here. When you think about those shoes that you want to sell, and Courtney too, when you think about those brands, oh, okay, let's say Nike and Adidas, you can now say Adidas like eco-friendly running shoes. So when somebody is going to type in Adidas alternatives, you can show up as a result. These are not things that are like you don't have to pay for this. This is free information. The strategy is what you're paying for. The time is what you're paying for. The intelligence, all those things, that's what you're paying for. But the how, the what, okay, this is how you do it. Okay, do this, do that. Everybody can upload a video. Everyone can know how to do this, how to tie a tie, how to bake a turkey, how to do things. But when you now make the best turkey in town, when you bake the best cake in town, when you have the best article in town, when you have the best video, that's when people get to see you a little differently. And that's when you're like, okay, now it makes a lot of sense because it's not just about my content, it's because I really, really want to understand what is my goal here? What do I really want to achieve? Is my goal to achieve people to hear me on ChatGPT and call it a day? No, the goal is I want to be ranking on ChatGPT so that ChatGPT offers my domain, right? My domain level, my domain signal as the authority that actually opens the door for the person who knocked on that door on the search engine, if that makes sense. So we have the social signal, which is the basement. We have the domain signal, which is now ground floor, right? Because that's where everybody hangs out. That's where the family hangs out. That's where everybody hangs out. That's the place, right? The living room, the kitchen, everything is happening there because that's where everybody hangs out. So that's the domain level. Domain level means that you have domain site wide. So homepage, blog page, which is like kitchen, laundry, dining room, living room, basement, right? These are all locations. So your homepage, your about page, your contact page, your product page, your policy page, all these pages are like those pages in your house, right? So that domain means that if somebody's coming to my house and somebody's coming to the front door, it means that they know where the front door is. Because they know where the front door is, it's because they search for the front door. So if your website has a page that has traffic or that has information about a topic, then if ChatGPT recommends you, it means that you have something on your website or in your house to offer as a link that's going to provide information that is going to give somebody the satisfaction of getting the result that they're looking for. So the goal is not just to rank, it's to show up and to make a statement, right? So that happens automatically. When that happens, you're like, okay, perfect. What's next? Next thing to do is to think about the top of the penthouse, right? And that's the user signal. That's the third one, the user signal. The user signal is where everybody is. So before anybody goes from the top, because think about it, user, if you go up the stairs, there's a master bedroom, this is my room, this is the kids room, this is granny's room, this is somebody's room, this is every room has a name on it, if that makes sense. So that means that every person in this room has a name. If this is Mary's room and this is John's room, that's because it is Mary's room and the room is pink, and it's John's room because it's blue. Or it's Mary's room because, she has makeup and hair, and it's John's room because he has motorbikes and he has, paint, whatever it is, right? That could just say a whole different thing about that place. It's the same house, two different rooms, two different things, two different interests, two different elements. So when you think about your website and you say, okay, so somebody is using their Apple device, somebody else is using their Samsung device, they're coming from this room and the name is Nancy. So Nancy is looking for, shoes to buy because she's trying to get on a hiking trail, or she's trying to do a 5K for the summer, right? So she's now going to look for extra comfortable shoes for hiking. She's going to type that. So what is ChatGPT going to respond back? So from that user signal, it's going to point to a domain signal, and that domain signal is your website. Then from that domain signal, if they like you, if they now know you, like you, and trust you, they're going to turn that domain signal into a social signal. They'll be like, okay, I like what this person is saying. How can I follow you? Oh, you're on Facebook and Instagram. Oh, let's connect on LinkedIn. That's how it starts. So it starts from the user at the top of the house that is leaving their room to go down the stairs to figure out what's going on, to now eventually going down to connect with you on social media. So when you have that rotation in the map and you've connected your website to Google Search Console and Bing Webmasters, and you're creating pages that have high index authority, meaning that you have introductions, you have frequently asked questions, you have listicles, you have pictures, you have videos, you have tables, you have infographics, you have quotes, you have internal links, you have external links, you have schema, you have breadcrumbs, you have event lists, you have product schema, you have merchant schema, you have things that are going to be helping you through that way. All these things I'm saying are very out there. It's not like it's like, what are you? They're out there. It's free. But when you start applying these things, and start using them for your website so you can actually accumulate traffic, that's where the difference happens. I've seen traffic that we've built from 0 to 50,000 impressions in a month. So these things are happening. And if you want to see these things happen and you want to get them into your inbox, click the link above and sign up. Let me know. And you'll definitely get an email, and I'm sending out one today because I want to show you how search engines work. I have a whole GIF. Like I have a whole GIF that shows exactly what I'm talking about in a visual GIF presentation. So I'm going to be sending that email out tonight after the Clubhouse town hall. And I'm super excited that, even for me to even be in that space is a grateful moment. So I'm really excited and blessed to definitely have that happening. So I'm super excited about everything that's going on and exactly where we're going with, just creating content and also being very, intentional. So if you're using your website to show up on platforms, hey Monty, welcome. If you're using your website to show up on these platforms, then the platforms would also need resource. So think about it like this: there's source and then there's resource. So if it's a resource, that resource is coming from a source. So, what is the source? The source is your website. What is the resource? The blog. What is the resource? The product. What is the resource? The page. Where is the source coming from? Your website, your domain, your hosting. So, if you're able to, how do I say this? If you're able to split the difference between these two, then it'll be easier for you to know exactly what goes where and how it goes where and when. So when you think about content, especially now in the beginning of the month, so if you're on a rank on ChatGPT, the best thing for you to do, honestly speaking, is to ask ChatGPT the same question that you'd want to see yourself respond back to as. So if you see that the response, perfect example, prime example, if you ask ChatGPT a question and you get a result, look at that result on your phone, look at that result on your computer, and ask yourself, do I have that page? Do I have that in my house? Do I have that in my property? Do I have that in my domain? If the answer is no, then there's your answer. That's why your answer is yes. Then how well have you done it in depth to the point where what you're looking at is like apples to apples and it's not apples to oranges? So there has to be a blend of the two. And that happens by creating content consistently and being on the website in a position that actually connects you back to the source. So if you have content within your source file, which is your website, now your resources are now other pages on your website that people can now read or connect with you on. And that allows them to feel like, okay, yeah, let's connect more. Let's see where we can take this. Where can we go from here? How can we get you to that position of indexing that gets you even within that search bracket of even getting more responses because you have a linear pathway to getting that response. So if you're on ChatGPT, how you'll even know is that because of course not everyone's gonna hear themselves or see themselves because it's a wide network, right? You're dealing with a whole engine. So how you can notice this is when you connect your search console, your analytics. If you have a Shopify or Wix or Squarespace or WordPress, you'll start noticing that it will tell you where your traffic sessions are coming from, or in other words, where your source traffic is coming from. That source traffic That source traffic is where you're getting that feedback from. So that source traffic could say, oh, source traffic is Facebook because I post 3 times a week. That's why you're getting traffic on your website, because people go to your social signal and look at your domain signal. And then as a user, their signal that's showing up as an impression on your website. So it's that kind of one-to-one scenario. So if you're able to look and really understand, okay, I want to make sure that I'm ranking for this keyword. It's not that I'm ranking and I can sit there. It's because I'm ranking and I have a way to drill that, mine that, and get that information so that the person feels satisfied with the information they came for in the first place, so they can come back later. If they come back later, it means that they're coming back with a better bang, with a bigger bang, because it's something that allows them to feel like, okay, I learned this, this made sense, now I'm able to really justify and get more out of it. So it really blends into how you create it, long term. Welcome back, Royalty and V. Glad to have you here. So, how to get found and index high on ChatGPT using your website. This is what you need to do. Number one, just to wrap up the room. Number one, you need a website. If you don't have a website, this whole topic, you've just wasted a lot of time that you can't get back. But if you know you are serious about this topic and you've reached this point, it's because you are very invested, time wise, money wise, energy wise, and definitely resource wise, because that's why you're listening to this resource, because it's an audio, it's a resourceful file, it's an MP3. You can listen to it because you can play the button, you can rewind, it's functional, it's responsive. So if you want to get that same result and think of your website being out there, you need a website. So you need a website. And if you have one, that's great. The next point is, if you have a website, that website, if it's not connected, it needs to be connected to Google Search Console. And then it needs to be imported from Google Search Console to Bing Webmasters or Webmaster Tools. When you do that, you can also add another layer and add a heat map called a Microsoft Clarity account, right? That's free also from Microsoft. When you add these tools will just tell you what's going on. So everybody can have, think about it. Think about it. There are 3 malls. 3 malls have 3 high-end security cameras, right? But Mall A has 2,000 foot traffic a month. Mall B has 50,000 traffic a month. Mall C has, let's say, a million traffic a month. That could be like a Dubai mall, or that could be a Mall of America. So if you think about the traffic, the foot traffic, right? This is same camera, same brand, same machine, same setup, same installation, same price, same work hours, same billable hours, same everything, but different malls, meaning that you can build what I've just told you on your website, but the traffic that's going to come to your website, the foot traffic, the online traffic, because you have 2 types of visitors on your website. You have new visitors and you have returning visitors. If that bracket, if that equilibrium is not balancing out, if you're not getting more new visitors than returning visitors, then there's a problem, because every week you need to have new visitors on your website. Why? Because every day on your website, you have a new page or you have an updated page. It's either new or updated. If it's neither of those two and a week has passed by, you've missed a lot of people to connect with, because a missed page is a missed opportunity. That's it. A missed page is a missed opportunity. So if you want to show up on those pages that ChatGPT is recommending to you, then you want to be on those platforms that can give you that light. So when you connect your website to Google Search Console, import it to Bing Webmasters, and then you start going back to your website and writing content by file naming. When you think about file naming, before you upload an MP3, a JPEG, a MP4, even on YouTube, change the file name, because those file names don't change. Some platforms will not forgive you for those things. Like YouTube, no mercy. Those guys, YouTube, once you upload it and it's a video, it's out there, you can change the title, change the description, change the tag, change the thumbnail, but you will never change the file name unless you re-upload that same file name. And you don't want to have 2 videos twice. So just do the right thing and you'll be okay. Just be a good person, period. So you create your page, make sure that you've done your keyword research so that that file name is rooted. So when you go to the library, you can find it. If you go to a library today and you go to the history section or you go to the weather section or you go to the sports section, that's what you're going to find. You're not going to find sports and find real estate. That's not going to happen because you came in for food. You didn't come in for gardening. Yes, it may have the same impact or the same semantic value, but they're not exactly what I'm searching for at this time. So you also have to think about how specific you are in terms of searching. So when you now have this website, it doesn't stop there. Create content, right? Let this content, if I can say it like that, right? Let this content, let people see your content, but put it on a map that people can see it. And that map is your website. Because when you have a website, it means you have domain authority. That's what it's called. Domain authority. Domain authority means that you have a website, you have a house, you have a property online that can actually command the room. And there's a level from 0 to 100. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before, but I want to give you some numbers today so that you can really just ask yourself, hey, where am I on this map? Am I far from it? Or am I close to it? Am I even in the beginning? Am I at the end? What is this? Now, there are benchmarks, right, from 1 to 100. And you can go to Ahrefs, you can even go to Google and type in, how do I find my domain authority tools, free tool checker. You'll find them. They're out there. Now, this is the benchmarks, right? From 1 to 10, if you have a benchmark of 1 to 10, it means you have a new website, right? Meaning that it's like a credit card. You don't have enough credit or enough, I would say credit report history long enough to be able to leverage that as a brand, like I talked about before, brand leverage with other brands, right? So you need to make sure that the lenders check, everything is good for you to have that going. So when you think about your business in the same capacity, your website from a 1 to 10 is a new site, meaning that you've never had traffic to your website. It's like a new house or a new car. The smell of a new car, the smell of a new house, it's fresh, right? That's new. That's a domain that is just published, like you just went live today. That's benchmark 1 to 10. Now, for you to get to 10 to 20, it means that you're a small business, right? When you have a domain of 10 to 20, that means you're a small business. It means that you're really doing well. And it's a good thing because on average, out of 1.1 billion websites in the world, 16% of them are active. And then if you take that 16% of the total number of industries in the world, and then you find that the average or the median value of yours, that math is just going to be a lot for you to go into. But at the end of the day, when you get to the final formula or to the end result, you want to make sure that your website is also showing up in the good results. So 10 to 20 is small businesses. 20 to 40 means that you are an established website, meaning that you have established a niche and you are the top listened to or watched person on Google or on a search engine that can find that result. If you have a website and you have a lot of pages on your YouTube channel, and those same YouTube channel pages, let's say you have 100 videos on YouTube, that means you have 100 blogs on your website, because those 100 blogs on your website are all submitted to Google Search Console, which is also submitted to Bing, which is technically now supported by ChatGPT, right? And then the next thing you realize is you have a video, and in that video you have a caption. So if you're asking, hey, ChatGPT or Siri, I'm asking about this, and then you talked about it for 5 minutes in your video on YouTube, which is now showing up on a search engine, then easily ChatGPT or OpenAI can go sort out the files, and because you put the file name correctly, it picks you out of the file name and then suggests you as a person. It's that simple. So don't think this is a hard thing to do. It's just a matter of, if you're in a library today and you were told to file books into shelves, you're going to file them based on a very chronological order that is from A to Z, in an alphabetical order too. If it's going to be A to Z, okay, then it's going to be A B, A C till you get to AZ, and it's going to be BA, BC. You get the point? So you're going to do that sequentially because you don't want to have a mistake. You don't want to, you're pretty much minimizing errors at this point. So if you have a business, a website, and you have these keywords are going to be coming in the form of a URL, the key phrases, the very first 100 words of your website, the middle 100 words, and the last 100 words are very important of your website, because those are the platforms that you're able to get the most traffic. So when you do these things, you're able to build your website. 40 plus means that you're a top performer, meaning that you're really like, if you drop an article today, it's going live, it's going to the top of the search. And I actually did that today and last week. There's an article that I wrote about Clubhouse, and that article is gaining about 2,000 impressions in the last week. And I'll put the link in the chat so you can see it, because this link has been taking off because people are trying to figure out what's going on with Clubhouse, what's new. And I did a search and I was like, is there anything happening on Clubhouse that I can see online? I don't see anything. So I decided, like I did in 2020, to create something that's going to help people learn about Clubhouse. So I did create something for you to see. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. I just wanted to get the link. All right, boom. Please check the link in the chat. That's a link that I talked about Clubhouse Plus on Google. I'm talking about search engines, not on Instagram or Facebook that I posted. This is a search engine that 8.5 billion searches a day happen. And 15% of those searches are new. So Clubhouse Plus is part of the 15% of that 8.5 billion. So when you do the math and you get a 1% of the 1% of the 1%, because you're very niche based, it will help you. This article is closing down to about 1,000 plus. It's heading to 2,000. It's already hit that 2,000 mark. And when I think about the shares, it's still flying. This is 1 week old. I did another article just like this today. So I'm doing this to make sure that people are aware of what's going on. And if something is new, talk about it. You know how people just go open up a room. This is what I always do. I'll talk about it, but I'll make sure I'll document it so that it's seen, it's heard, and it's remembered. So that when somebody is looking for this a year from now, once upon a time, there was a Clubhouse Plus feature that was just launched. And you can see that because it was tabulated within a blog. And if you have that domain as your business, that's why news sites, journalist sites, they do so well because they're reporting news that people want to see, they want to hear, they want to remember something. So if you're also that person that is in your niche as a business owner and you're driving that conversation and you're telling people, hey, what is Clubhouse Plus? Or what is lasagna? Or what is ABC supposed to mean? Whatever you're going to answer is going to tell you that you're the person that is heading that or spearheading that information or that context. And then you're able to serve that to the masses using your website. So people can see it, can connect with you. You can always go back and forth. If Instagram drops today, if Facebook stops today, if TikTok is no longer here at some point, like it wasn't for a while, and then it came back, and now you never know if it's going to be here or not. It's like people are living in an illusion. And if you don't forget that your website is going to be there forever, it's like your house. Once you pay your house off in 15 to 30 years, you're great. Some people pay it off in 7. Whatever the number is, you paid it off. Now it's yours. You have the title deed. You're the owner. You control that. You have the quality control. You know what exactly you want to do. Do you want to expand? Do you want to shrink, downsize? Do you want to flip? What do you want to do? That's all on you. Some people build websites and sell them. Some people build websites and keep them. So if you really think about your house like a website or your website like a house, and you treat your house the way you treat your website, I don't know what to tell you. That should definitely give you some insights. So right now, to rank on ChatGPT is easy as ABC, but the formula starts off with creating content today that's going to outlive tomorrow. And how does that start? By building your website, making sure that it's connected to the servers, and also distributing content through the servers, because those servers are going to remember your name. And more importantly, in 2026, coming 2026, I'm just saying this now. If you have a podcast, that's a great thing. If you're a book author, that's a great thing because you're brand leveraging. Why? When you have a book and your book is on Amazon, you're leveraging Amazon. When you have a podcast, you're leveraging Spotify. Wherever you go, whatever you do, you're leveraging a brand. Whatever you're wearing, whatever you're saying, whoever you're talking to, that person remembers a brand that you reckon with because that's someone that you connect with. If we all like book club, but then we're here because we love book clubbing. If we want to go gardening, it's because we love gardening. So affinity is important online, and you need to know who's actually excited or interested in the first place. So how to do this is by making sure you ask ChatGPT the question, you get the result you hear. If that result is not you, then go back to the drawing board and ask yourself, how can I get to that top? Meaning, do I have what I just got back in form of a blog the same way I have a blog on my website that can represent the same thing? If no, then switch it up. If yes, then you know what to do next. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. Please connect to me here. I'm about to close up this room. I'm super excited because I'm going to be in the Clubhouse Town Hall. And this is the first time in 5 years being on Clubhouse that I'm going to be actually part of the panel. So it's a blessing, it's an honor. And for those who are here, please make sure you listen in. Nikki, glad to have you here. It's good to see you. Love the profile picture too. So connect and join me on Clubhouse Town Hall. So I'm gonna be there today. And yeah, let's talk about this app and get this word out there. Let people connect with you and see where this goes, because it's a matter of time that you have to really see that if you have a Shopify account, if you have a Wix account, a Squarespace, a WordPress, you can also get this there. It just requires you to really, be very specific and meticulous on how you get into it, and you definitely do it. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, V. It's going to be very different. So I don't know what to expect. So I'm just going to follow the rules and make sure that, I do my part and just, read the room as well. So definitely I'm excited about today. And for those who are listening, I hope you enjoyed this conversation and take notes. Please, if you want to, make sure that you hear yourself on ChatGPT or see your website pop there. It just starts off with being very importantly focused on where you want to go and how you want to do it. So please click the link above. Let's get on a call. Let's talk. Let's get you set up, installed. There are a lot of things that are happening, and especially there's a new language. This is what I'll say to wrap up the room. There's a new language that is being used to talk to AI engines compared to Google search engines. So you need to have two types of records on your website so that those two records are talking to each other. Like it's like man to woman. Like there has to be that connection for it to blend. I don't know how, if it doesn't make sense, I'll try my best to make it make sense. But there has to be a connection. There has to be communication between two parties for two things to work. Even it's also biblical. Like if Amos 3:3, if two people cannot agree, there's really no agreement there. How can two people agree if they don't? So if the two people agree, then they'll agree on something that they can agree on, which will now create something. Just like when you have a baby, you're manifesting that. That's the plan. That's the process. That's the thought. That's the seed. That's the thinking. It's all into life and being. That's why when you say things, watch what you say, and what you say is really going to be very important. So you have to think about the words and how you say words, because words are seeds. So I'm glad you're able to be here with me today. Connect with me. Feel free to stay connected here on the app. But until then, I'll be here again. I have some rooms for you scheduled up for the week that I'm going to be bringing to you. So feel free to connect and stay in touch. But for those listening, for those who love tacos, happy Taco Tuesday. And Real TV, Lady, Trina, Shin, Pravat, Even, and Fumi, thank you all so much for joining. I appreciate you all. Have a blessed and wonderful June for those who are here and listening in. Take care, and I'm going to see you guys in the Clubhouse streets very soon. Take care.